3, 2, 1.
All right, it's 6:30. I'll bring the meeting to order. First up, modifications or changes to the agenda. Is there any?
I would like to add 2 quick things if the board is okay with it. I have an allocation request for the Quincy Hotel. That's not on the agenda that I'd like to add that came in today. And where did I put it? A request from the Enosburg Fire Department that came in today for a coin drop. If we could add those for discussion, please. Where would you like to add them if you're all in favor?
Enosburg coin drop can be 4.5,
Okay.
and the allocation for the Quincy can be 5.5.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Is that it?
That is it. Thank you.
Okay. Up next, public comment. Is anybody here from the public tonight?
Betsy's not on the agenda, so.
You're not on the agenda?
No, she is now.
Oh, right.
Well, I'll give 3 cheers for the flashing traffic lights, because as somebody with limited vision, I have much, much greater confidence crossing a street when I know there's little flashy lights than when I'm just out by myself.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, hearing no public comment, we'll move on to review and approval for minutes.
Some of the, Susie was just walking in, I don't know if you want to give her a second. She has a comment. Because we're really punctual.
Hi, Susie.
Hi.
Are you, do you have any public comment?
No.
Okay.
We're like on time.
Sorry,
We were just moving on, so I thought we would just wait since you were in the hallway.
All right, review and approval for the minutes of July 26, 2022. If everyone got a chance to look everything over and didn't see any errors, Sandy has an error?
I do. 9, at the last paragraph, I presume it's supposed to say a motion was made by Eli Gabuzda to approve the new vacation portion of the personnel policy, not police.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I read that too, I didn't even get to that. It's good.
I read it too, and I didn't.
Because I was a proofreader for a few years.
Any other errors or omissions?
Find it yet.
Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
All right, if everything looks good, I'll hear a motion to approve them. Eli with the first or second? Sandy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those nay. Those opposed, nay. All right, up next, park use permit and bandstand permit for Enosburg Business Association Harvest Fest 2022.
Standard permit, everything's filled out. We have everything we need for Harvest Fest, September 17th this year. And with a change at the last meeting, we'll hopefully have all of the alcohol license related stuff 7 days prior. So we'll keep the board in the loop on that.
We will, but right now you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, right now.
So far we have none.
Okay.
Everybody that we've contacted so far has said, we're really, really sorry. We would love to come, but we have no employees to be able to send out to do a festival. So
Really?
please keep this in mind for next year. We have, I think,
It's on the
2
poster, we need to find somebody.
Yeah, 2 more that Sarah Tugas was calling today. Okay, because one of the ones that she called, the meadery, is out of business.
Oh, wow. Well, that's unfortunate.
Sticky Paws.
Oh, yes.
She was gonna check with
She's
Groenfeld.
doing another, she's a chemist, actually. Somebody I used to work with.
So, are you guys providing the extra portalet?
We already
Yeah.
ordered.
Yeah, we do.
My only thought on any of that is not related to this, but I just really think there ought to be discussion at some point where the policy is the policy. It's not just the policy for the Harvest Fest.
For what specifically?
So I think your ordinance lists the Harvest Fest in its own.
That's just an amendment to our no alcohol in the parks. So the Harvest Fest is the only one allowed to ever have alcohol in the parks.
So I think my thought is that if people follow the correct protocol and do the right things, then they should be able to approach you for consideration, regardless if they're, you know what I mean? Like
If another group wants to have a wine tasting or
a
whatnot.
wine taste, yeah, it just feels a little exclusionary that it's just us. We'll take it. Don't want to upset that.
Yeah, we feel
apple cart.
special enough.
But, you know, I think we've shown how it can be done and done right, and I think there's other, the one in Taylor Park and in St. Albans, which does group tasting and wine tasting, and it's a fabulous event. They raise loads of money that, I don't know, gets kicked back to recreation or something. I just think it ought to be something to consider if people do it the right way, like we've shown it can be done, that they should be able to approach you and be considered. It's just a thought.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think I would agree with that, so.
That would take a change in the ordinance anyway, so
Yeah.
it could be reflected that way, if we so chose to change it.
Yeah, we can bring that up another time.
Mhm.
Yeah, at some point.
Any other questions on the Harvest Fest?
No, it looks pretty standard to me.
Okay.
Excited for it.
We have quite a few vendors, I think I've worked on maybe 34, I think, at the moment.
And we usually have 60, 70, so.
It's a little bit of time.
Yep, it's a little bit of time.
Some of them come
Last
in
minute
September.
Right. Once they figure out they have a free spot.
Yeah, no.
All right, well, if everything looks good, I will hear a motion to accept both the bandstand and the parks use permit. Do we want to have an associated fee?
What was the last thing you said?
Waive the fee?
Waive the fee.
Okay, so Leonard made the motion, is there a second? Heather with a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right. That coin drop is Enosburg Fire, you said?
Correct.
Okay, so up next we have Enosburg Fire Department coin drop.
So we received a letter from the fire chief, Mark LaRose, today wanting to do a coin drop on September 17th between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. I believe they do this pretty much every year with you guys with Harvest, not with Harvest Fest, but the same time.
Same
There's
day.
so many.
Actually, I'm in the park, I don't know. Do
Yeah.
they?
I
Yes,
believe
they have.
last year was the same.
And the very first year they did it, speaking as an EVA member, I can remember we went, oh dear, and then we didn't know they were there, they didn't know we were there, and everybody was happy.
Main Street and Orchard Street, they have all the necessary signage and protective gear for any of the firefighters out there.
Yeah, it's worth going.
I say, I don't think we've had any issues in the past.
It's a good fundraiser.
Yeah.
And they're doing the barbecue in the park that day too, so they have earmarked that as a fundraiser too, and if they ever pass up on it, Legion's next in line, so.
Well, last year they had chicken and pulled pork and sold out of both.
Yeah, I believe that, so.
Excellent, I'm all for it.
Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Heather with the
Second.
first, Eva with the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Okay, up next, Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation grant support letter for restaurant at Quincy Hotel.
So super exciting news.
The whole town is celebrating.
That Quincy is getting a restaurant, finally, yay! Kay's Tavern is going to be going in, and FCIDC is kind of working in conjunction with them, going for a similar grant to what you guys signed off on last week for Curly Block. Elizabeth Nance is on if you'd like her to elaborate off of that, but you see in your packet, it's a letter of support that they have drafted if everything looks well. I have a copy here for Sam to sign in support of Kay's Tavern getting the grant and all of this moving forward. Elizabeth, is there anything you wanted to offer outside of that?
I do want to thank you for signing the letter for block, and I apologize, we didn't do this at the same time, this kind of came up afterwards. So we're excited to do the grant for Kay's Tavern and work with you all to get the restaurant in the city.
So if everybody's had a chance to read the letter or wants to read the letter and they're good with it, I'll just ask Sam to sign off on it and then we can get it back to FCIDC.
So I just, so the grant is, I'm assuming, some sort of business grant that's going directly to Kay's Tavern? Or-
So what happens is it's a Building and General Services Building Communities grant, and FCIDC would be the pass-through. The municipality or a nonprofit is the applicant, although it will directly go to a for-profit business. It's weird, but that's the way it works. So all we would do is we do the grant application. You would get the receipt for any the money, the appropriate money that was spent. We request the money from the state, and then we turn around and send the check directly on to the business. So I think it just is, we kind of do the administrative part of it, so that the business doesn't have to.
Awesome.
It's great, it's a wonderful way to help somebody new get on their feet.
Absolutely. And what's the timeline on this?
The grant applications are due for 10. This is a slightly different year. Usually they were due in early mid-July. They've moved it back. So it's due September 10th. Based on what they've done in years past, it's about a month and a half before you get the award. So I'm anticipating probably sometime early mid-November for the award, and then the business has 3 years to spend the money. It generally doesn't take that long, because if they didn't need the money, they wouldn't apply for funds. We do have one that is dragging it out to the last minute, but typically the money is spent within the first 6 months. And it's a pretty quick turnaround once we get proof that the money has, so it is reimbursement typically. There are a couple of ways it works. I won't get into the gory details because you may not care. Once we have those receipts, then we go to the state, and it's generally within a week or two. It's not like the feds where you may have to wait 3 months before you get some money. It's a pretty quick turnaround.
Great, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess real quick, while I have you, this is annual, so if there is a business who may be interested, please reach out sometime next year, like, I don't know, April, May. We do several of these applications every year, and we've been fairly successful with them. So it's something that we can certainly help with.
Okay, that's really good. Great, thank you.
Welcome.
So everyone's in favor of it? Sam?
Absolutely.
I think we need a restaurant.
You do.
Another one.
I know we
Yeah, I just heard
It's more.
Plate 108
2 hours
is
a
gonna be
day.
closing.
Yes, but I
Hopefully they're
also
open on
heard
Mondays.
today that
Maybe Sundays
the
too.
cook that's been in the kitchen at Plate 108, which is not either one of the owners, is going to run it for the rest of the summer under Lisa's license and is hoping to take it over next summer. I don't know who he is, but it's whoever's been in the kitchen.
Because they're done on the 20th.
Correct.
Okay.
5.5 it is.
Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Yes,
Thank
thank you, Elizabeth.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right. Up next is the water and wastewater application
Yep.
for De Quincy.
Yes, so Betsy submitted a request today. Gary and Brian had time to review it. It's already been in the works. Should start the discussion with them, but they're looking for an additional 1.9 wastewater and 1.9 water allocations. This is going to allow them to increase their seating capacity from 35 to 50. I do have a memo from Gary I can pass around to everyone if you want to see it in support of this, that we have the capacity for both. Do you guys want copies? I have copies for everybody if you want.
Gotta have more paper to file.
Yeah. Well, looks like staff has no issues with that.
Seems fun.
So if we all want to see it at the restaurant, we gotta approve the allocation.
They won't let us eat.
They can't bribe you, but I will buy y'all shots.
All right, I'll hear a motion to approve both requests for water and wastewater allocations from Quincy.
Send it. I'll second that.
Eli with the first, Leonard with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All
If
right.
anybody was opposed, we'd have a problem.
So do the trustees get a free prime rib dinner to serve?
Send a shot, Leonard, don't push your luck.
Oh,
You might get the bone when we're done.
Everybody will nod on it, there won't be anything left.
Yeah. It would still be so good compared to what we've had of late, that it would be wonderful.
Nothing, yeah.
All right. We gotta set the 2022 village tax rate and due date.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
All right, we'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good
good
night.
Thank you.
Spent some time working on the forecast for this year, which is no easy feat considering everything changes, I feel like, daily. But we gave it our best shot. We got the grand list already. There's a few changes up and down from what we budgeted versus what's forecasted, but all in all, just a very slight increase to what we budgeted. I'm proposing a tax rate of 0.6323 over the 0.6249, so it's just like, again, slight increase. We're going from 15.18% increase from 2021 to 16.5. And I would like to propose an October 13th due date with these going out this Friday, Monday the latest, but
October 13th.
yes, it's a Thursday.
This is on Friday.
Yeah, I sat down with Psyche, she does a lot of the processing I said, what day do you want them to do?
Well, I gotta say that being only off by 1% with the amount of just general inflation is
Yeah.
pretty.
And I don't know that I think we probably have very few people that are on the village tax rolls that think we can ever progress at all if we never have any tax increases.
Right.
And the biggest increases we're seeing are with the wages. There's gonna be some increases there with some of the salary adjustments that we just made. Heating fuel, we're already, 25% over budget, so I kind of ran with those projections. Same with fuel for the vehicles. So far, knock on wood, repairs on vehicles haven't been too eccentric at this point, and there's some areas, like, we're not really at this point predicting any paving or patching or any of that type of work. There's nothing in the works that we have going on unless something happens, but at this point, so that did help us a little bit there, but
Must be water fund covered the patch on Main.
correct. If it's tied with a water leak that comes out of the water department, this would be if we had a major pothole or something happen that we had to repair,
Like that
but.
one time on Orchard Street.
Right, so
Was Tractor Supply's brand list number factored in here?
it will not be, I don't think for this year. Next year we
I think
will
they
see
can't do
it.
it until they complete the building.
Correct, and right now, I just talked to Gary today, their goal is moved from October to before Christmas. So they just poured the slab today from what Gary had said, so they're.
Yesterday.
Was it, yes, yesterday, sounds right. So they're progressing, so no, we did actually, the grand list went up a little bit. Where is it? From 970 to 974, so we did see a slight increase, but Tractor Supply will help that significantly as well for next year,
And then eventually so will the roller block.
and eventually,
Yeah.
and.
We're gonna make it yet.
and
Rough couple of years, but we might be pulling out of it.
And the two lots in front of, the lots in front of Tractor Supply, if they can get a couple more businesses in there, that would help.
I think Water Tower, there's a couple properties going up.
And industrial park, I mean, anything that happens there, so we're moving in the right direction at least, but, so,
At least we're moving.
yeah, like I said, it turned out to be a lot better than what I was anticipating, so it wasn't quite as scary when I ran the numbers.
Yep.
All right, well, I don't have any issues with this. There's no more
Trust Abby's
discussion.
math. I trust Abby's math.
Just don't trust my counting on the agenda though, you see the numbers? We got 2 number 6s, guys.
We won't look. It's okay.
Okay, so I need a motion to set the tax rate of 0.6323 for 2022 with a due date of October 13th.
Move.
Eli with the first, Heather the second. All those in favor of the tax rate say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay.
Shouldn't really say.
Thank you, Abby. Huh?
Shouldn't really say in favor of it.
Yeah, right?
Well, say everybody to check.
We don't like it either.
No, certainly not.
Nobody likes to pay.
Okay, play though.
Mhm.
All right, staff report.
Second-hand tax.
All right, short and sweet. At the VEPSA meeting last week, it was brought before the board of directors that there was an error on the renewable energy standard billing that they sent out to us. This is resulting in us basically paying double this year. But, so, without getting kind of fully involved in explaining this, so our renewable energy standard, we get so many credits basically every year for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and I know we can dive into that deeper when we get into budget season, but basically if we don't meet enough credits, we have to buy. There's a monetary value to each credit, so the true up for that doesn't happen until July, August, so we just trued up for 2021. So with this double budget, basically, it was a decision before the board of directors, do we keep paying double so we're that far ahead of the game for 2022, or our budget for 2023 is going to be double. The board of directors decided to continue billing as is, so we'll be actually ahead of the game and not playing catch up for once. That unfortunately is going to result in us paying double on our line item this year. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that when you're looking at financial reports and we get into budgeting. We're going to be paying double what was projected.
And that's just because there's not enough renewable energy within our grid that we're buying?
No, yes and no. So each credit, there's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and I will actually forward you guys. Julia Leopold at BEPSA kind of handles a lot of this stuff, and she has sat down with me and tried to explain all of the tiers to us, and she sent me a really great PowerPoint that explains it. I will forward that on to you guys to help you understand, but each level is different. Like tier 3 credits are like your electric vehicles, your lawnmowers, like the rebate that we got for our lawnmower qualifies under tier 3. Tier 2 is, you know, if we did a solar project or different things, it could go between tier 1 and tier 2, and that also is for what we're purchasing for our power. So when we have our CDA bill every month for our purchase power, depends on what our contracts are, how much of that is renewable energy. So if we don't meet the certain standard of say 60% for tier 1, then there's a monetary value assigned to what we owe. And amongst VEPSA members, if we don't have enough, we kind of purchase from each other. You could sell them. There's a lot of stuff, backdoor stuff that kind of happens to make sure everybody's meeting their credits, but we pay so much a month towards all of this, and this is just an overcalculation on their part, but it's kind of a catch-22. We either pay more now or we're hit with their prediction for 2022's true up for next year is $700,000, and it's going to continue to go up every year because of the green initiative and the goal to be 100% renewable by 2035. So that budget number is going to be like our transmission costs and our purchase power. It is going to grow every year.
So what is the way out of this?
As of right now, there is no way out of this. That is something that VEPSA is working with legislation on. So we have not heard the end of this, and there's a third of legislation turnover this year. So they're regrouping and formulating a plan. But there's a lot of stuff in the works right now to specifically address this, that the state's pushing for more renewable energy, but they're not making it affordable for the consumer, for the utility, for anything. So there's a lot coming down the pipes on this. This will not be the last discussion, I'm sure, that we're going to have about this. But just because it's such a huge number, I wanted to bring it to your attention. I mean, we're talking another $300,000 to $400,000 out of the Lake Department this year. Because we're already, through the end of June, we've already spent 94% of our year's budget.
Yeah,
so.
no, that's crazy. Well, keep us updated.
Yeah, so we'll keep you in the loop on that, and I will forward you guys that presentation that Julia went through with me. It is helpful, and then any questions you have off of that, John and I can try to answer. In the worst case, I know Julia would be more than happy to sit down with us. So
You might have to bring her in.
yeah, and she's fantastic, and I'm sure she would definitely come in. But in happier news, our Kendall's back up and running.
That's wonderful.
We've had 2 hiccups, one of them being this morning, but we got through it. We had an issue with the air compressor, like day 2 or 3 of it running. Quick trip to Greens, got the part. Dave got it fixed and up and running. This morning we had an issue. It ended up being with the head gate, and the only reason I'm getting into detail on that is we're going to be looking at another estimate to change out another control switch on there. So right now we have a pressure switch, which is hydraulic, that controls the head gates. well, it got stuck kind of near the bottom and was not allowing the flow. So how this started was Steve came and got me this morning and said, we're pushing to try to up the KW's output because we got rain last night and there was more flow. So when we were pushing to raise the KW's, it was lowering, but when we were pushing to lower the KW's, it was raising. So we called ETS and Kirk was fantastic. Ryan, myself, and Steve were out there trying to troubleshoot it, looking at the hydraulics, looking at this, and kind of said, well, let's leave it, we'll regroup, because Kurt had to go. He ended up calling us back, and he sent me an email this afternoon about, we're basically going to continue to have issues with this pressure switch, because the way the old control system was set up, the head gate would adjust automatically, and now it's getting stuck when it's trying to, so he kind of did some back behind the scenes stuff to change how the controls were set up, so we won't run into that. But once Dave's back and John's back, we can kind of go over more of the details. This is pretty new, but we're possibly looking at one more small upgrade to make sure we're running as efficiently as we can be.
That's fine.
Kind of hard to do things without parts.
Right. So that's where that's at, but it is still running. We've got it cranked up right now. The village one is down, and I don't anticipate that being back up until maybe October, depending on how the rest of the summer goes.
More rain.
Desperately need more rain in order to run both of them. So, but backup plan was if we had to shut the Kendall down, we could fire up.
Well, we had Village 1 down all last summer, right?
Most of it, yep.
For low rain.
And the Kendall, we had a little bit of output in, I think, September, beginning of October. Dave and I found we actually did produce a little bit, but not enough to say so. So the Kendall, all in all, was down close to a year and a half.
What's it kind of running at for KW?
So we had it, where they have it at the end of the day, I'm not sure. We're anticipating the river levels are gonna stay where they are for the next maybe day or two, and then we'll probably drop back off. So when it drops off, we're generally having to go below 200 kW. They had it cranked up to close to 300 today. So it's the river level, we have to play with
So we
it.
all gotta keep praying for rain. I know we all want
We
sunshine.
gotta do the dam, the rain.
Yes.
dance, yes.
It's Russian roulette with it. So, 'cause right now our current license, we are not required to have flow over the dam. Our new license, because we've been voluntarily doing that, that's been added into our new license, and that will hurt us a little bit next year during these summer months, but.
That we have to have flow over the dam.
Well, I shouldn't say next year, yeah, they're looking for 1 to 3 inches, so it affects
1 to
the.
3 inches over the dam? That's like what the generator
Well,
takes.
So 386.5 feet is the river level, or for the crest gates, and I mean, today we were at 386.75, so we're like a quarter of an inch. That flow that was over there was not much today, so there's gonna be some fine tuning. There's some things that we put in our FERC application initially that I question now.
Is it for aesthetics? Is that why they, I mean, a quarter inch should be fine.
Yeah, today it looked fine.
Right.
Like, we know there's not a lot of water over it, but you know, anybody off the street looking at it, you can't really tell. So it's, like I said, there's some stuff in our FERC license that John and I are looking into, and it might prolong our license by a couple of years, but there's a couple other studies we'd like to see done. We're trying to, we want the numbers, basically, we're working with Paul Nolan and the Turner Group right now to do another study of how do we run these two at, max capacity and as efficient as possible year round. Like, what do we need to do? Right now, our current license is for peaking or ponding, which we voluntarily stopped doing in 2002 because Sheldon filed a complaint, I guess. They're saying that we were messing with the river with their hydros down there. So we voluntarily stopped at that point in time, but technically we could go back to that. And there's some stuff there that to be discussed down the road. John and I are working out the details, and we'll be presenting to you guys shortly. But there's some stuff with our license that we may prolong it just a little bit, not intentionally, but to see how can we run as efficiently as
We're
possible.
still ahead of Morrisville.
Yeah, we're not at the 13-year mark yet, but The goal is to try to offset some of our transmission costs too, and if we look at the peaking method, I mean, that would mean kind of shutting down ponding for so many hours and then running, and if we can be running as much as possible during peak transmission hours, then that in the long run saves us thousands. So we're right now looking at doing those studies and figuring out what's the best way for our future with running the hydros as effectively as we can. So, to be continued, lots of good stuff happening though.
Thank you for all your work.
It's been fun. And we already talked about the crosswalk beacons. So those are up, going well. We've had a lot of positive feedback so far on those. So.
I like what I saw.
They were great.
They were up last week, I think, at some point.
Yeah, we had a couple hiccups with the
When they first went in,
Wi-Fi.
one didn't want to stop.
Yeah, one of them was just running all the
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
text, and I went out with my dogs and I'm like, we're gonna go for a jog right now.
Yeah, we had a couple hiccups with the Wi-Fi. We weren't aware that if it wasn't set up within like 2 hours, it times out and then you have to so Ken spent some time reading the manual. We called the manufacturer. They were able, like, oh yeah, it's easy. Got it up and running. So all is well
Good.
there.
It's going to pay for itself in PR.
Just
Yeah.
a
Something
reminder.
is happening on Main Street. How's
Yeah.
that?
And it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, well, John is technically back from vacation Monday, but Monday and Tuesday, he and I will be in Stowe at the NEPA conference. And we might be back Tuesday afternoon, because I think it's only a half day on Tuesday, but.
Well, have fun.
He's having a good
We'll learn a
trip,
lot.
he's checked in a few times, so.
Okay, well, thank you, Abby.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
What do we have for other business tonight?
I just want to kind of pass on, Wednesday, I was in the park, there was the Butler cleanup day that Tobacco Prevention Coalition does. And there was a passerby, had a good conversation with him from Montreal. He's like, his first time in Enosburg, beautiful community. It's just like really great. He's like, I'm just having a great time. I got a good cup of coffee and I'm walking around. Your community, like, it's beautiful here. It's just people are friendly, and it was really nice to hear. It's just really nice.
I should have, I won't of course, but I should have brought, we have a little book at the hotel that I decided it would be nice to keep a little log. I think Betsy thought I was nuts at first, but the place that I go to in Maine has one and everybody writes
So
in.
they're so fun to write in.
And we had one that wasn't so great. It was like, nice place, internet sucks, which is true. It really does.
Working on that.
We're working on that. But for the bulk of them, and they are almost all out-of-staters, unless they're people coming in for usually a family funeral. But it's all, I can't believe how nice Enosburg is. This is such a beautiful community. I mean, on and on. You know, we're really doing okay here.
That's good. It's good to hear. Good to hear for sure. How about you, Leonard? What do you got?
Not a thing.
No business
No
tonight?
more chickens or anything?
No?
All right, well, if we don't have any other business, we'll move on to executive. I'll hear a motion to enter into executive for the purpose of discussing negotiations in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position of municipality and for the discussion of personnel.
And will we enter?
Second.
I'll second that.
Sandy with the first, I heard Eli first, Walt for the second. All those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and those opposed nay.
Great.
You just gotta really jump on.
I know.
You don't mess around.